I mentioned this early on, that arrays can store whatever we want, right? They can store primitives like strings and numbers and booleans, null and undefined, but they can also store other data structures like more arrays. They can store objects when we get to objects. So here's an example of a nested array. It's just 2 levels of arrays. Colors is our top level. It's an array that contains a bunch of arrays, and each one of those arrays is a pair of color strings: red, crimson, orange, dark orange, yellow, goldenrod. I don't really know what the meaning of this is. I think what I was going for is like, here's a common, just a color everyone knows, a category like red, and then here's a detailed, more specific crimson, or here's a, blue and navy blue, or green versus olive. I don't know. So let's do a little demo here. This is a tic-tac-toe board where I'm storing the state of the board using nested arrays. So we have our main array for the entire board, and then 3 different rows, which is each a subarray. And inside of that, the first one I've got an O, and then null, and then X. So it kind of is visualized or represented by what you can see over here. O, nothing, X. Null, X, O, X, O, null. So in order to work with nested arrays, we can do our own game board. Let's do const game board equals, we need our first array, and then we can nest as much as we want. So let's just do an X, O, X like that. And then I'll do our second row, which will be O. Let's do null, it's empty. Nobody took the middle spot, which is rare, X. And then here's our third row. We've got, I'm not even visualizing this to see if anyone's winning, but let's do O, O, X. So I think X should win. Is that correct? Let's take a look at game board. Now if I open it up, first of all, what we see before I do that is just array of 3 items, array of 3 items, array of 3. It's not going to show it to me, the contents, but I can expand it and see, here we go, X, O, X, O, null, X, O, O, X. So we have a winner here, which, we're not really computing. We don't have logic for that or anything. But it does, we can visually see it, but that doesn't really matter. What matters is how we would access each one of these letters. So I have a question for you, which is, how would I access null out of this array? I want the center spot. I want to just see what is the center spot of this game board. Well, think about it. I need to go through 2 levels of arrays. So the first level is going to give me this array. There's only 3 elements in this top game board. Here's the first one, the second one, the third one. So I need to use an index of 1, 0 versus 1. So game board of 1 gives me that first array, or technically the second one, index of 1. Then I want the second element inside, which is also index of 1. So I can chain that just like this. So if I had 3 levels of arrays, I could continue to go on and on and on. Now I don't, but if we had a Rubik's Cube that we were modeling, then I would have 3 different levels. So that's all I wanted to demonstrate here is, 1, it's perfectly valid to put arrays inside of arrays. And more than that, it's really common, especially in situations like a game board. And then once we get to objects, which is right around the corner, we'll see that we often work with objects and arrays together. We could put objects inside of an array or arrays inside of an object, and that's really, really common. And then in order to access data out of a nested array, we just chain together square brackets, right? This happens first, and that will simplify to some array, and then we're accessing some index of that new array that we've accessed. So don't get too tripped up. It's common to be confused by nested arrays, but don't be intimidated, okay? All right.